Hello, everybody. Uh, it is Sunday, the 21st of December, just a few days before Christmas, and I managed to get out into the garage a little bit, but I haven't posted anything for a while, so work has gotten in the way of shop time, and it's been erratic, but wanted to give a sense of where things were. I've had a couple of you that have asked uh, what's going on and to get an update, so I wanted to give you essentially where things are at the moment on the Triumph and give you kind of an update on progress and things I've been working on. So I think it's been since Father's Day in June, so it's been a number of months before I've really posted anything. So here goes. Let me show you what I've been working on and where things are and kind of how it goes. It's been probably a whole lot of different sub areas that I've worked on. I haven't really finished anything, so just started a lot and working through it. So let's see if I can get this thing turned around. Um, okay, so here's where we are. There's the body. It was on one of Elan's rotisserie, so I could get it to the bottom. I have finished the metal work. That is all now done, and everything's pretty tight. I've got some body work to do to clean it up, but all the fabrication and metal work has been done. The battery box was replaced. Took that out. We did that over Labor Day weekend. My sons were in town and helped me cut it out and weld it back in, and that turned out very well. It's very solid, and that turned out well. There it is there. But the engine bay I painted a few weeks ago. That is all now here. Okay, so here's the engine bay paint. I was taping it over to try to keep dust and overspray and everything else out of there. I've got the front valance that needs to be done. I sprayed it, but I didn't really do much with it in terms of the body work. So I'm going to have to sand it down and block it and just clean it up a little bit before I do that. There was a lot of undercoating on the car that took a lot of heat and blowtorch and scraping and wire brush and trying to get all that, but I got it all out, got everything ground out of there and cleaned up, and it enabled me to see the panels a little bit better. Ended up with some panels additionally that I wasn't happy with in terms of where they were. So in addition to the battery tray, the both left and right rockers, inner and outer, have now been replaced. For those of you very familiar with TR6, you know the rockers have a seam where it joins into the A and the B pillar. There's a little bit of indentation. I chose to add a little bit more strength there, which I've done in a couple of areas, and I've made it, I basically filled that in with weld. And where it wasn't super neat, I filled it in, instead of plastic, I filled it in with lead. And I've got some work to do with that and file it. You will notice that. I'm trying to keep plastic out of this at this point. You know, there'll be some of the body panels and the low spots, there'll be some plastic on it. But the structural stuff, I wanted to keep everything pretty solid. So got that finished. Both floors, in addition to the inner and outer rockers, have been replaced. I had some extra paint while I was spraying the bottom, and I got underneath it in the dashboard and wanted to get all that painted. Ended up, you'll see this is not very well smooth or anything, so I've got to do some sanding and clean it up. But I got a coat of it. Essentially, there was some epoxy primer that I put on there. I did not film that, but and I just had some extra blue paint. I went ahead and shot it, so that went with that. So in addition to the floors, the B pillar, inner outer rockers, supports, the spare tire well, replaced that as well. That had some rust in it, as well as the entire rear valance. So all of this is new. Essentially, the side panels were good, but and this back valance was okay, but this was the first one I did, and I tore it up a little bit when I was cutting out the floor pan for the spare tire well. And I thought, I'll just get the correct panel, replace it so it's smooth, and I just took it all out. So the entire back end has been replaced, and again, I've got some sanding to do. And I built this dolly to roll it around for me on the floor, and then I had to, you see the seams, these were cracks, intentional expansion joint cracks in the garage floor, but they were difficult to move things around, so I've grouted those and filled those in. So I did that a couple weeks ago, and that's made it easier to move things around, as well as not only the body, which is fairly light, it's easy to kind of move around, but also the frame, which with the engine's a little bit sturdier, and for one guy pushing things around the garage, having those cracks in the floor were a problem. So here's the frame. I've done a video of kind of mostly where this is, and it's mostly in the state that was then. Yesterday I was working on getting the SK carburetors set up and attached. Have a little issue with the linkages. When I put the header on, that was out a little bit further, so I had to move the linkages out, and so I'm having a bit of a time getting everything to line up correctly and well. But so I'm kind of in the middle of that. The exhaust system wasn't finished the last time I did a video update. That is now done. The header's in, everything's permanently attached, welded up, and so that's all there. The silencers at the rear are done. I've used mostly the good parts, rear end adjustments. So the coilover, or the coil and spring shock conversion, which I really like how that worked out. That is in, but all the back end, the hubs, the brakes, bushings, everything has been rebuilt. Rimmer Brothers had a 7mm essentially diff mount replacement, so that entire bar, I took that, the sheet metal stuff that was back there holding, I just took it all out and welded that in, and it is super stout. I'm very happy with that. The only thing I didn't do that I kind of somewhat regret is Good Parts has I guess Good Parts, and there's some others that have some CV joint conversions. I didn't do that. I rebuilt the axles and the CV boots. It's back to stock, but the universal joints have all been replaced. They're all new, and it's tight, but I would have liked to, in hindsight, after I rebuilt the diff, and all I did with the diff is seals and bushings and bearings. But that's all set up fairly well, and I'm happy with that. But I would have liked to have done the CV joints for the rear, but didn't do that. So that's where we are there. The only thing left to do on the fuel line after I get these carburetors installed and the linkages sorted out is to install I've got a stainless steel fuel line kit that I'm going to put in, so I've got fuel coming. When it's ready, it's just easier to do what's off the frame, or off the body's off of it, to get that done. And also I don't have the brake lines in, so you will notice that all that is not yet in, so I'd like to do that before I put the body on. And then decision about where to put the fuel pump. When I bought the car, it had a high pressure, high volume fuel pump that was mounted on the frame towards the front. And I'm not sure that's where I want to put it back. The original, as most of you know, is in the back in the body by the gas tank. So that is, I may go back there because it's easier to get to if I need to service it. But here the silencer's on. I didn't weld those because I thought I might have to do some adjustments on that, but they're clamped, and everything seems to be pretty stout and doesn't seem to hit anything when I wiggle it. So I think for the most part it's that there. I have all the shifter components where I'm replacing. I have new bushings and all of that. So trying to make everything new or better if there's an upgrade or an aftermarket part that somebody's improved on. You will note that there's a spin-on oil filter adapter with an oil cooler that's on, keeps it a little bit cooler. I'm trying to think what else is there. One thing I also have been working on, the dashboard. As I come over here, dashboard, took that out, had the gauges rebuilt. I'll talk about that in just a minute, but basically sanded the old veneer off, and I'm getting ready to replace the veneer. I have a vacuum press, and we'll basically put the veneer. I did it before with a friend, but I had bad glue. It didn't hold. It essentially delaminated, but that was my fault. It was old glue, and it didn't do it right. And I was kind of learning how to do the vacuum press setup as well. The back side, this is the inside of the door opening with the veneer. That's separately done. That basically has been now glued. It's flat. It's ready for the clear acrylic. I haven't done that yet. I'll do that after I do the front veneer. And I will do a separate video on the gauges and the dash. But I had a fellow actually here in town locally that rebuilt the gauges for me and did an amazing job. They have a long lead time, and it took a full year. I literally dropped it off on November the 4th of 23, and he told me it would take him a year. And 1 year and about 3 days, they were done. And I could not be happier with the job that they did. So it's amazing, but I think that's worth noting. But it's actually better than new. They took them apart, rebuilt them, adjusted them, calibrated them. Did the same thing with the fuel tank sender, so that everything matches up there. So that's back in. For those of you that have asked, the E30 is still here. Haven't made much progress. I drove it during the summer a lot, had fun with it, but I really still haven't finished it. But it's about 95% finished, but there are a couple of small things that need to be done. I haven't done that. So parts up here, I've rebuilt the heater box. These are things that as I had paint or is in there. Steering shaft, it's up there with new bushings. I've got to put that back together again. Hinges, fender struts, basically these are the parts that I've rebuilt that are just hanging up here. And as I get things done, we'll kind of get them installed back on the car as I start to put it back together again. So sorry for the length of time it took to do an update. I'm not a very good video editor, so I will try to get this posted this evening and then have a little bit more detail. I've got individual sections that I did video, and when the boys were here helping me with the cutting and welding and some of the fabrication, metal fabrication that we were doing, that's all here. And then I hope work will settle down enough that I can paint that over the New Year's break in the next week or two to get this body wrapped up and finished, and get the body mated up with the frame again. It will give me a little bit more space here in the garage, and get focused on getting it back together. And so thanks for listening. Thanks for paying attention. You guys have been very kind in your comments and interaction, and appreciate you very much. Thanks. And for those of you that have subscribed and liked things and given me some comments, I've learned a little bit from you guys if you had comments, so thank you for that. And look forward to talking and showing you more later. Thanks. Bye-bye.